Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of Ghost Encounters of the Third Kind. And this week we have a full team.
Hooray!
Are you alright, everybody?
Yeah, we're alright now.
We're getting there.
Right now.
Anyway, this week we are going to be talking about the different hauntings and goings on, paranormal activity at, where is it?
Cannock
Chase. Just joking with you. Yeah, Cannock Chase. It's quite local to us. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think it's only about, is it 30, 40 minutes away from us?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
It's a district in Staffordshire.
We should spend more time there, shouldn't we, really?
Definitely.
Considering it's only down the road.
Definitely. It's Cannock Chase Country Park, and it was designated as an area of natural beauty in 1958. It was also, much of the area was designated as a site of special scientific interest.
Really?
It's a mixture of woodland and open heathland, and I think there's a few little lakes, I think like pond lakes, whatever. It covers about 3,000 acres, so we're thereabouts.
Didn't realise it was that big.
There's lots there.
Massive.
There's visitor centres, there's a museum, I think Shugborough Hall stands at one end of it. There's the remains of Castle Ring, Iron Age Hill Fort. There's several war memorials, including German and Commonwealth War cemeteries there. Did you know that there's a Great Dane buried there? A Harlequin Great Dane buried there that was the mascot of the New Zealand Rifle Brigade.
No, I didn't.
There you go. And also it was it made national headlines in the 1960s when the Cannock Chase murders were about, when they found the remains of 3 young girls on the chase after they went missing from areas along the A34, I think the stretch from Cannock Chase towards Birmingham, that stretch there, they kind of went missing from there.
I didn't even know that either.
I didn't know that either.
There was a gentleman found guilty, but strangely he was only found guilty of one of the murders. And he was sentenced to life imprisonment, and I think he's long since died. So, and what's interesting is since the 1940s, I think, there's been sightings and reports of all kind of things paranormal, from black dogs, werewolves, big cats, UFOs, even Bigfoot. They've all appeared in the local press. The Slender Man, the Pig Man, countless other spirits, entities and disembodied voices and noises, and it's a very interesting place. So we thought we'd just have a little chat this evening, and we'd pick up on one particular thing and have a little chat about it, and and see where we go from there. So what have you got then, Nick?
Me? Oh, sorry. One of the things that are reported there are black-eyed kids. What they are, we don't really know. We were just discussing this earlier. What they are, the kids between, I think, the age of 6 or 7 up to mid-teens. And they're always, like, dressed in, well, not always, but mostly dressed in rags, that sort of thing. But their eyes are completely black. Now, one of the stories was, which I'm not condoning this by any way, because you're not supposed to wild camp in England. There was a couple that were camping on the chase. And when they were in the tent in the middle of the night, they heard like singing, like a child singing. So they opened the tent door and saw nothing, went back in, heard it singing again and laughing, and they thought they could hear it like somebody running around the tent, So they went again, opened the door, nothing again. They heard this laughing again and singing, And when they opened the tent again, there was a ring of bricks all the way around the tent, or pebbles all the way around. So obviously they got out then and thinking, well, somebody's messing about here. Yeah. So they turned on the torch, and straight away behind a tree, they saw a head pop round of a young child with blacked out eyes. So obviously they were startled by this. When they flashed the light on it again, it vanished and appeared behind another tree. So they didn't see it walk, they just saw it like it was teleporting, from one place to another.
Yeah.
And that was it really for that one. But obviously it scared them, so they just sat in the tent all night then and didn't come out.
Yeah.
And that was it until the morning. They got out in the morning when it was light, and
Sorry.
Is it moving?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
They got out in the morning when it was light. All the stones were still there around the tent, a big circle of stones around the tent, and they could hear laughing in the woods.
God, he's like Blair Witch.
Yeah, well,
the next morning.
The next morning. So they walked there, followed it because it was daylight. They thought, well, it's somebody messing about, and they went, and they just saw one in the distance. A young child just stood there, and the names have been changed. I can't remember what the names were, but obviously they don't want to be known. And they just said, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" And as soon as the other one looked, it vanished, and that was it. Nothing else after that.
Is there some footage, some drone footage out there somewhere of Cannock Chase that they claim to have caught?
Yeah,
one of these black-eyed kids on some footage from a drone.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen it. It's a very poor picture. Though,
Yeah.
Yeah, can't really.
Yeah.
It could be shadows on it, can't it, or on the face or whatever. That's just one instance. Another one is like the classic ones you get from America. There was another couple in the car parked up on Cannock Chase, just relaxing.
Taking in the view.
Yes. And something knocked on the window, the side window. So he flashed his headlights. No, he didn't.
Oh, it's another podcast.
Yeah. Something on the window, and he wiped the steamy window to look through. And there was a boy and a girl stood there by his window.
Oh my days, no.
Do we know why it was steamed up?
Well, I wouldn't like to suggest.
It wasn't working.
But the heater wasn't working. I think it might have been raining. But and a boy and a girl, young boy and a girl, stood there and just standing there, looking straight at them, staring straight at them, and their eyes were completely black. So he wound the window down a little bit to see if he could. And then all of a sudden, they were gone. To the other side of the car, knocked on that window, the other side. So at that point, he drove off.
As you would.
Yeah. So,
but these aren't exclusive to Cannock Chase, are they? Or is this a worldwide thing?
Oh, they happen everywhere, don't they? Black-eyed kids.
Okay.
They're more well known on highways in America, aren't they? Yeah.
Is there any theory? Has anybody come up with a theory of who they are? Why?
I think I heard somewhere they're always asking. In these instances, okay, the first ones who were in the tent heard there was only one child there. They're usually in twos, to be honest with you, but there was only one child there. They heard that singing and laughing, but they're usually always asking to come in. Can you let me in, please?
Oh.
Can you let me in, please? A bit like the vampires do, isn't it? But I don't know why you aren't supposed to let them in. I don't know whether they are a demon or... They obviously aren't human because they teleport and they vanish straight away. They're there one minute, they're not the next.
And if there's warnings out there not to let them in your car or wherever they may be, then I should imagine they're not a good omen, then, are they? To
I don't care if it's a little kid, a man, a woman, or an old person, but if they've got jet black eyes, I'm not letting them in anywhere, are you?
No,
really,
absolutely not. I wouldn't have even wound the window down.
No. I think he just cracked it open so he could see properly. And then when he'd wound it down, they'd gone and they were the other side. So
I just can't imagine.
It's just strange, isn't it? If they were bad, why they would need permission?
I don't know.
You know, why don't they just get you?
So they need to be invited as such.
It seems that way, yeah.
You have to give your permission to people, like you say. I've heard stories in America where they've knocked on the car and asked to get in the car. It's not just houses, it is cars.
They never ever, as far as I've read, they never ever try and force their way into anywhere. They always ask to come in. Can you pick us up? Car's broke down, or we'll give some excuse. You know, my mum's in trouble. Can I come in and give you your phone? Can you let us in? Can you let us in? My sisters. But they're in America, them sort of.
There's a common theory in the paranormal world, isn't there, that demons, if you want to call it that. I mean, I know what we think about the word demons. They quite often sort of masquerade as young children.
Yeah.
Because obviously to evoke the sympathy and the trust from people, because they're kids, you know, who wants to see a kid walking barefoot in the middle of the street and not want to help, kind of thing. So
they always seem in distress, don't they? Whenever you,
yeah,
they're not just like two kids, and you've got their hoods up as well, so they're hidden, so you can't really
can't make out till the last minute.
Do you not think they could be a hybrid? If like the little grey aliens, they've got big almond black eyes, aren't they? So if they're hybrids between greys and humans, maybe they've.
Well, there has been a lot of UFO sightings around Cannock Chase, hasn't there? So
I think they kind of go along with that phenomenon.
It could be, because nobody. Well, we were discussing this as well, weren't we? Because I don't actually know of anybody that's allowed him in to the car or allowed him into the house. If anybody out there listening to this does know a case of this, then let us know.
And what happens?
So we don't really know what they won't come in for, do we? Or what they are, or if they have gone in, there's nobody tell a story, is there?
No.
So if they have anybody has let them in, it's not good, is it?
No.
You know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And Nick, what have you got for us?
Well, I've got it's only a little one. It's Haunting of Castle Ring.
It's another podcast.
Oh dear.
Okay.
The Castle Ring. I don't know if anybody's Googled it. You can actually see it on Google Earth. It's like a piece of ground that nothing seems to grow on. So I don't know if there's been like a UFO maybe landed there. I don't know.
That's what they suspected.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But the story I've got goes as it's an Iron Age hill fort, and there's several sightings of a ghostly drummer who drums is in full uniform. It doesn't say of a kind of a date, so I don't know what kind of uniform they would be wearing. And the legend goes that people who hear the drumming, it's kind of a pre-warning to a death. I don't know if it's a death in the family of the person who hears it, or a death in it. I don't know, because obviously there'll be people dying all the time everywhere, isn't there? So I don't know how that can be proved. Or disaster, impending danger, or disaster. So I don't know how that links to a UFO, because some people have said that it is the spot of a UFO landing, but it's just nothing grows there. It's just like a ring. I don't know if that's why it's called the Castle Ring.
Castle
Ring.
So what was there? What was there before?
I know it's like a hilltop fort.
Hilltop fort.
But I've never been, so I don't know how high it is from.
I've tried finding it before and I've failed miserably, but I have seen it on Google Earth, like you say. So I've never actually been to the place myself.
There is a lot of sort of military history with
On Cannock.
On Cannock
there's
Chase,
definitely-
isn't there?
Yeah.
There was, I think, there was barracks there at one point, and and also you've got all the memorials and the cemeteries.
I wonder if
The
there's any
war stuff.
underground bases or anything there. It'd be interesting.
There's underground mines, apparently.
I know they've had archaeologists there, and they've had the LiDAR, and they've picked up a lot of stuff, from back in sort of World War II days. So have a drumming boy kind of fits in with the history of it. So
Yeah, but I wonder if that's related to that. The dog. Which is
that's also, there's lots of sightings of that. They call it like a demon dog, don't they? A black dog, and that's also meant to be a forewarning of a death, isn't it? So when people see that, quite often, there's
and also with the drummer, they're saying that there's a rise and drop in temperature, but maybe
It's interesting, isn't it?
maybe if it's getting on at night time, there's a natural drop in temperature up there.
Yeah.
I should imagine.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So he's only out at night time.
It doesn't say
Because
what
the
what time of
black-eyed
the
children, they're out during the day, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they're both. Yeah.
day. Yeah, I'd have thought it had been different times of the day. It doesn't actually say. What time of day it was. Could be any time. Like I say, we've been in a few places where at night we've had no activity, but people are reporting that there's activity in the day. Maybe if the soldier died in the day, maybe
Yeah.
it's a daytime thing. I don't know. Doesn't say. We don't know if any of these stories are
No.
true, do we? But they just.
There must have been some sort of battle there. Then, would you say, at some point?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I don't know if there was. I've looked through at where the legend comes from, but it doesn't really say.
very interesting.
I've got another one, but we'll come to that one in a minute.
Okay, and what about you then, Faye? What have you got for us?
Well, I've got a werewolf on the Cannock Chase, apparently. Or werewolves. Not quite sure. So I've got a little article telling me a supernatural survey from something called the Fringe Weird Report. Have you heard of that?
No,
No.
never heard of it.
It says there have apparently been 20 reported werewolf sightings on Cannock Chase.
Okay.
And it says the report has been put together by Lionel Fanthorpe, who's a lead. Do you know what?
That's an ace name.
Lionel Fanthorpe. I nearly didn't say it. Fanthorpe.
He's a
Fanthorpe.
He's a vicar type.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
How do you know about him?
Yeah, I've heard him on Coast to Coast.
It says he's a leading figure in paranormal research.
He's got a fab voice for radio.
And he studies police reports. Blimey.
Finally.
And archives of groups who explore ghostly and unexplained events. Come and get in touch with this Lionel.
I'm disappointed, to be honest, that I don't know of him.
I know. And Nick does.
I bet you would have heard some of his stories. He does like Christmas stories. He's got like a really strange voice for radio. Yeah, he does Christmas stories and stuff on some of the main podcasts I listen to.
Okay, cool.
Good.
So anyway, the survey shows that a paranormal group visited Cannock Chase in 1975, with several of them claiming they saw a snarling beast rear up onto its hind legs and run off into the bushes. There have been recent sightings, it said, but this article, it states the page has been archived and no longer updated. So we could do with finding out if this is April 2007. This is, see if there's anything more. West Midlands Ghost Club had been called in to investigate calls from people who'd seen a werewolf-type creature prowling around the chase. Several people claimed they'd seen the wolf walking on its hind legs in the German War Cemetery on Camp Road.
Well, that's right close to the road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that not
Right
near
on the
where the
road.
dog was buried? The Great Dane?
I don't know where the Great Dane is buried.
wonder if that is if they've seen the Great Dane and then mixed it up with that. Maybe some of them.
Could have done, yeah.
They said they thought it was a large dog until it raised itself up to its full length, of which was almost 7 foot tall. So a Great Dane could easily
that.
get up
I
that.
bet they'd be bigger than that Great Danes, wouldn't they?
And it darted off into the bushes when it was startled. The Cannock Chase Post ran a story a month later in which it quoted an unnamed paranormal expert who claimed the werewolf sightings could actually be a subterranean Stone Age throwback.
Oh.
Okay.
He offered the theory that the creatures could have lived and thrived in the old mines under Cannock Chase. I didn't know there was any mines under Cannock
But
Chase,
we
did you?
didn't. Well, we
There
were
is,
told,
yeah,
weren't we, by the guy who went to his house.
Yeah.
Under there for centuries, coming up to the surface via old earthworks to hunt for local deer. He also claimed that there had been a number of domestic pet disappearances in the area around the war cemetery, especially dogs who were let off the leads while out on walks. Blimey, you let your dog off and it just doesn't come back.
That would happen with mine if they saw a squirrel, though, to be fair. They just wouldn't come back.
We've got documents dated from 1986 to 1992 revealed a number of letters sent between the MOD officers and Staffordshire Police to try and explain all of these sort of things. And we've got some, I think these are people here, there's quite a list, so I won't do them all, that have theories of what it could be, might be. One says there may be a werewolf, as there are many sightings. The only reason so many people haven't seen it is because they don't look at the right times. And somebody else says there are muntjac deer, is it? Muntjac deer on the chase. They're the size of a large dog. They have long canine teeth and they bark. Really? Like come face to
I think
face
they
with
are
one
black
deer.
as well, aren't they?
I don't know.
I think so.
So maybe they are the cause of the werewolf. There's quite a few there, rather than me reading them all out. There's some theories as to what they could be. However,
Have you come across one with? If you've been looking, I can't find any write-up about it, but I have heard another podcast that I listened to, and they were talking about Cannock Chase, and they were saying that there's been reported like a clan of like pygmy people, small people wearing furs and with spears, and one of them ran at the person who was viewing them and then disappeared. So
I
there
think
was
there's
some
like a portal or something.
I think these sort of, I think perhaps they're hinting at like a subterranean race, and I think anywhere that's had lots of tunnels and caves and mines, old mine shafts and things like that, especially over in America with the gold mine shafts and stuff. I think there's lots of stories about these little subterranean people that live underground, and you know they've evolved not to grow very tall because obviously they live in tunnels. I think there's a
They call them goblins, don't they?
Yeah.
A lot of investigators they believe goblins are in all these caves and tunnels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it says as well, apparently there have been sightings of werewolves running across busy lanes of traffic on the M6 near to the Chase.
Wow.
Blimey, imagine that. Dear me.
Very interesting.
A bit different than a pheasant, isn't it?
Nobody's. I don't know. From what I can gather, though, there's no footage and no photos, so I don't know. Would be good if we got some.
But if it was going back a bit, they wouldn't have dash cams.
Like I say, this hasn't been
all that
updated
back then,
since 2007. We could see if there's anything recent.
Because the only way you can get footage, like you say, with the dash cam, isn't it? I mean, we've seen UFOs, haven't we?
Yeah.
But you're driving along, so you can't get your phone and, you know what I mean? Get it onto
it's gone
video,
before you
find
can
your
pull
video
over.
and find, and you just can't do it. So unless something runs out right in front of you, you've got a dash cam on, nothing's going to get caught on film, is it?
No. Excellent. Okay,
What have you got, Marie?
So I've got a little story about a pig man. So this is something, as far as I'm aware, is exclusive to Cannock Chase. I've not heard of stories of a pig man anywhere else.
I think I know him.
I do.
So this is about a half man, half pig hybrid. There's a few sort of there's a folklore about it, how it came about. One of the stories is that a young pregnant girl was driven from a home, which was a small village many moons ago near to the chase, amid accusations of witchcraft, and she gave birth in a secluded glade on the chase. And the baby, who was cursed with witch's blood, was born hideously disfigured. She abandoned a child and returned to the village to repent her evil ways. And the following winter, she succumbed to a fever and she passed away, keeping the secret of this baby with her. And it was around that time that this hideous creature was taking farm animals and things like that, and then children started going missing, and that led to the village being completely abandoned. So that's one tale about it. The other one,
So this pig man actually ate kids and animals.
well, this is one of the folklores behind this, but the other one actually is a lot more recent in the great scheme of things, and it was apparently just after World War II. And the story goes that the British and American scientists joined forces to conduct a series of weird experiments, and they impregnated a woman with a hybrid human/pig DNA egg embryo of some sort, and after closely monitoring the woman for about 10 months, they gave up watching her, because obviously 10 months down the line they thought, well, it's not worked, she's not going to give birth. But the pregnancy was severely delayed, and she later did give birth to a human baby with the head and face of a pig.
Okay.
And then it says much later the creature retreated into the woods of Cannock Chase, and reports of seeing a tall man with the head of a pig have been reported ever since. Now, reports, from what I can find, the earliest of reports stem back from the 1940s, which kind of is in line with the war years. And there's a guy called Lee Brickley that's wrote a book on all things paranormal on the chase.
I think he's written one on black-eyed kids as well.
Yes, yeah. And he claims that he received an email from the grandson of a former soldier that was stationed on Cannock Chase. And he claims that his granddad told him that he and others had been tasked with spreading rumours around the local area about a human/pig hybrid on the loose in the woodland. And he said this was a known military tactic for keeping civilians away from occupied areas.
Oh, right.
So this guy is claiming that it was a story made up by the military to keep people away. Yet, that being said, there are still sightings to this day being reported, and just one sighting that was only a few years ago was a couple who were walking on the chase, and they saw what looked like a man kneeling down in the dirt some distance in front of them. He was wearing trousers, a blazer, but no shirt. They say his face was totally deformed, and almost certainly he had a snout. And they also say that his head looked far too big for a human. His head was not in, for how big his body was. But then they said when it stood up, it stood around 7 foot tall. So by all accounts, it just looked like a normal man, a very tall man at that, but with a pig's head.
Why are they all 7 foot?
The couple, obviously this terrified the couple, and they turned around to start to rush back to their car, and they say this is when they started to hear a very high-pitched squealing noise. So that report was not so long ago. So that's also a strange one.
Probably hunting for truffles, was he?
Yes, exactly. That's why he was kneeling down in the soil. So I think there's many more on Cannock Chase, isn't there? From UFOs to Bigfoot, and it just seems to be a paranormal hotspot.
Yeah. Well,
I've just found a little bit more information on the werewolf thing. It says here that according to local legend, everything started getting weird in 1975 when a 17-year-old boy in central England in the mid-70s took out his Ouija board to test its powers. He said he would trade the devil his soul for the power to turn into a werewolf. Shortly after that, a friend said that he received a phone call from the teen, but could only hear odd guttural noises from him. That same boy, was found dead soon after. He had killed himself using a silver knife, and silver is, of course, the only way to kill a werewolf.
Oh.
But going back to after World War II, there's a little story of a ghostly hitchhiker who was a woman, reported to be dressed in between 40s and 50s clothing, and she hitchhikes, and it says that she's very chatty and friendly, often asks to be dropped off at a nearby pub or crossroads, and then when they stop, she's disappeared. So I don't know.
It's very active.
Lots of people. There's loads of ghostly hitchhikers, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
That's another big thing, isn't it, in the paranormal world, is crossroads. They're supposed to be quite significant, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
there's actually a crossroads that goes down by the side of the war cemetery that I've investigated. And then I was going towards a hanging tree, which is further down, but I didn't actually get to it because I spent all the night on them crossroads because it was that eerie. The temperature dropped, everything. It was really weird.
And there's a pub down there, as it mentions a pub here, so I don't know if there's...
No, it's right in the middle of the... in the middle of the woods, so...
Yeah. And it says here that it's still an active thing going on, this ghostly hitchhiker woman. I don't know. If anyone's seen it, we'd like to hear from you.
So what are our theories of why this one particular area is so active? Is it just mainly because of all the rich history of the land and what's been there, and or is it I'm sure we looked, it's not on ley lines, is it?
No,
I'm sure we checked that out. I don't think there's any ley lines that run underneath it.
No.
So
with all the activity, you think that could be an explanation,
Yeah.
but
no.
For me, I think I would go along the lines of a lot of the stories, like you say, being made up. Maybe there's military. I think maybe there's underground something or other. Maybe, I don't know. Because there's UFOs. We haven't even touched on the UFOs, but there's them were reported from. I think that's from the 70s. I think
they're probably the most reported thing there. The UFOs.
2009, there was an object silent.
I'm sure, Nick, if we looked into it, I'm sure I've read somewhere that, these secret papers that get released after so many years, I'm sure that there's something that was released not long ago to do with UFO sightings over.
It's ideal, really, for that sort of thing,
Chase.
because if you go, it's that big, whereas it's about 20 odd miles, or how big, it's massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's no light pollution at all.
The problem is you've got nowhere to run, Nick.
No, you haven't. No, you have to sit under a tree.
Nowhere to run.
Yeah, but there's no light pollution. There's no street lights or anything like
No.
that. You know, so it's just what it is. And I suppose you can.
I think there's also a story that of a UFO crash somewhere on the Chase that people reported seeing lots of sort of men in black and people telling the local people that they didn't see anything and not to discuss anything, and you know, some years back. So there is actually lots and lots more that we could talk about, but I think the most interesting thing in general is the Chase itself. It's such an active
It's got
area.
everything, hasn't it? Everything, or supposedly got everything in the paranormal field.
Yeah.
Even Xanu.
Or Bigfoot to most
Yeah,
people.
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Let's go a Bigfoot, eh?
Go a Bigfoot hunt.
I like the fact that in the UK we've got a Bigfoot that we can brag about.
I think we've got more than one.
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
If there's two of them, are they big feet? Or big foots?
Or Bigfoots.
Bigfoots.
Excellent. So, has anybody got anything else then before we wrap this one up?
Not
Not
really.
for
There's
the
no
moment,
exciting
no.
bits.
No.
No,
I found an
Not
interesting
really.
little bit on the crime boy picture.
Oh, go on, yeah.
That has nothing to do with Cannock
No,
Chase,
no.
but still very interesting.
It's a little urban legend.
Yes.
If we're going along with.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we could if people could ring in, or well, say ring in, it'd have to be email, wouldn't it? Because I know of
Message.
people that have these pictures.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Pall
Yeah,
Mall,
there's-
Pall
yeah,
Mall
there's,
has
there's,
one.
There's one hanging on
Yeah.
the walls in
Yeah, he's
Pall
got one.
Mall. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
We had one when I was a kid in our
Did
house.
you? What happened? Anything?
No,
Oh.
there was no fire or nothing. But we did have one. I don't know what happened to it, but we definitely had one.
Yeah, maybe
That's 'cause I'm really
it got
old.
sent into the sun because people were panicking, weren't they? And
They
They
did.
were
yeah.
massive in the 70s. Nearly every house had one in the 70s.
I'm sure you were with me, Marie, when
could be
I
for
know,
you.
it's a siren. Wondered what
for
that
you.
was then.
They'll be knocking on the door in a minute after Faye.
Yeah, well, it was a mass-produced print of an allegedly cursed painting by Italian painter Giovanni Bragolin, widely distributed from the 1950s onwards. Now, I've seen, when I googled, it's a totally different picture than the ones I've
Oh,
seen.
really?
It's a different little boy, yeah. But,
Okay.
but
There's loads,
anyway,
isn't there?
yeah. So it's supposedly haunted by the spirit of a small boy, and whose evil powers cause houses to burn down around it. I've seen this happen, and you have, in a little place up at as we called Piggy Lane.
Oh right, yeah,
Can you remember?
Yes, I can. Yeah,
They had one on
Yeah.
the wall,
yeah.
and that was rumours were going round about that, and they had
Yeah.
a bonfire outside, and they threw that on the bonfire. The frame burned. This is no word of a lie, isn't it, Marie?
Mm-hmm.
The frame burned, but the actual picture itself had just got a couple of singe marks on it. It didn't burn.
But I've read about this before, and aren't they saying that the legend of them was that people were getting rid of them because they were frightened that the painting was cursed and they were causing house fires. But the actual painting itself was made with a non-flammable material, which kind of went
But would all the paintings, because
halfway-
they're all different, be made
halfway
with that,
of
would
like
all be made with
why
that,
they
wouldn't they?
didn't burn as much as everything else
Well,
did.
I watched a thing the other day on it, and they do actually burn because the Sun newspaper, when all
Yeah,
this
they
came
gathered
to light, they got a
everybody
page
took
3
them in,
model
didn't they? Yeah,
burning them
there
all
you
on a
go.
bonfire.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does she have clothes on, or she?
I think she just had I don't know, I was watching the bonfire.
But I don't think, and because of that, I think that's why they're so rare now, isn't it? Because everybody was getting rid of them.
Oh, yeah, they
and-
got rid of
and
them, yeah.
destroying them. And
But as for the original ones, obviously I can't say, but there's loads and loads, there's dozens of different crime boys now.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I think I've only seen the one. I don't think I've
There's
seen.
loads of different ones now.
Yeah, I've only seen the one that Paranormal have, that one.
Yeah, that's the only one that I've
I was
seen.
watching.
But the little boy, look, there's the
Oh yeah.
different.
It's
isn't
different,
it?
slightly
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you got anything else on it, Faye? Sorry,
Yeah,
we
I was just
butted
having
in.
a look because I was trying to find the little. Is it Don Bonillo? His name, the little boy.
So it was
Rumours about the painting. Yeah, a story spread that the crime boy was a Spanish street urchin called Don Bonillo, I think it says, whose parents had died in a fire. No one wanted to take him in because whenever he stayed anywhere, fires would start. An artist painted him, but then the artist's studio was destroyed by fire. Years later, an unidentified body was found inside the charred ruins of a car, and the name on the driver's licence was Don Bonillo.
okay.
Sad, really.
So
Nobody wanted him.
that's why they're meant to be cursed and things burned down. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I never.
There you go, Don Bonillo.
Don
Or
Bonillo.
Bonillo or whatever. What a shame. So yeah, I'm sure there are plenty more urban legends out there.
Oh, there's plenty more. I'm sure we
Tonsies.
can discuss on another.
Tonsies.
On another. Yeah. It's okay. In case people are wondering why we keep going silent, as we can hear something wobbling, and we're just trying to work out whose mic it is actually wobbling about. So, okay. So I think we're done then. Yeah, for this week.
Yep.
And I'm sure
If
we'll-
anybody has anything interesting like that,
Yeah.
send it in.
Yeah,
To
please
where,
do.
Nick?
Contact at ghostencounters.org. And if you would like to come on the show, we can call you up. It won't be live, but we can phone you and you can tell us your story.
It can't be live. We make too many mistakes.
No, definitely not.
It's we're live when we're speaking to you.
Yeah.
Very professional.
Oh yeah, we're ace, aren't we?
Yeah, so emails or Facebook messages. Have we got the
The thing, Marie, the
I
thing.
can never remember what it's called. The other social media thing.
Facebook.
No.
Instagram.
Instagram. Have we got the
It's
Instagram
up,
up?
but
Yes. Okay.
Not
So
very active at the moment.
no, but there's plenty of ways you can
Bit
get in
like me,
touch with
though.
us.
Not very active.
No. Get there though, don't we?
Yeah,
Get there at the
yeah.
end.
So yeah, that was quite a serious one for us this week, wasn't it?